Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township Public Meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Yes. Thank you all for waiting for us to get started about 6 minutes behind. We've got a little daughter. Stick around for a couple of minutes. Thank you very much, staff, for playing announcement. We've got a couple of fill-ins tonight. Our township manager in accident. So Paris stepping in. Common also stepping in. And also so here with us. We don't come to our township meetings regularly. It's done. Obviously, have to make some public business last year, and we're going to maintain that. So it's checked it out to the public via Zoom. Something or on to work meetings. We have no board members on tonight. Four board members are. Okay. July 16, 2021. Standing joint meeting.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, where we talk about please come to the microphone, state your name if you would, and your presence in the township. We need to just make sure you come up.
It's Susan Snyder, 435 Mount Sydney Road. July 3rd was a war zone on Mount Sydney Road. The fireworks were terrible. Residents behind me put off fireworks that went 300 feet up in the air, 200 to 300 feet, with a lot of stuff coming down. It scared the animals. It scared the neighbors. We had no clue. It went from 8 to 10 at night. Trust no one has post-traumatic stress disorder in our neighborhood. Our neighborhood is comprised of a lot of Amish, and I really think that something needs to be done about fireworks. Just like trick or treat has a designated night, designated time, fireworks need a designated time.
Our noise ordinance. How does that affect fireworks? Time of day, season.
The noise ordinance would speak to the use of fireworks after 10 p.m. but not prior to 10 p.m.
I mean, the Amish, the other end of the town wondered what was going on. And people heard it all over. Neighbors were calling, they're illegal, they're illegal. I don't know, I'm not a fireworks person. I understand people want to celebrate, but there are times 4th of July would be appropriate, not other times.
I would say, okay, call the police department.
That's correct.
Call the police department.
Well, I was concerned about animals, my animals running out across the road now, which brings me to my second concern.
However, first of all, by contacting the police department, you have the police organization.
Second thing is traffic. The solution to the lack of enforcement of 35 miles per hour was to put another 35 miles per hour, which does not. There are tractor trailers barreling through there all times of the day. It's not just day, but it's through the early morning hours, and they're traveling. They have to be traveling 50 to 60 miles per hour on that road. When I pull out on the road, I can no longer back out. None of the people that visit me can back out because of how fast people are driving. It's a safety issue. It is a major safety issue.
Right, actually, the township did look at that. We did make sure that all the signs were placed according to PennDOT regulations, and the sign was actually added as you indicated, so that we're meeting the PennDOT standards. We also, the Board of Supervisors had recommended looking at whether or not the white line along the outside of the cartway could be moved in to make it a narrower lane. We did go out and measure that. It is already at 10 feet, and so it will not go any smaller than that according to PennDOT regulations. So we've done those actions thus far.
I was even reading my contract. That you are in control. 35 cannot be here. Let's drop it down to 25. No problem.
Actually slightly higher than the 35. And therefore PennDOT could post it at a higher speed.
The road that walk across, people need to put the nail on the fearful of crossing their nail. When I know the yard, I've lost. Am I going to make it back to the garage? Do I think to make it travel? When I turn into my driveway, coming from Horseshoe Road down and into the left-hand turn, people pass me on both sides, on the right side, and the left, and on the yard, before the rear end. So it was a major. And the school playing, we get worse. I think someone needs to be out there and do things to stop it.
Having engaged with this one, our hands are tied, as said, and other traffic stuff. But the public would get that to you. There were maximum students practice people going.
Somewhere in the 70s, high 70s.
The average speed is outlined out. The average speed is slightly over 35. The volumes are immense. They let it out. They will most likely won't continue. And at this
We
point,
have not.
it's feasible for us to limit or
But we have not approached PennDOT with that option.
talk about thoughts.
I don't think we'll restrict it. And if you go to them with the traffic study, they're just gonna raise the speed limit to 45.
Like, on the fact that speeds, higher than the that's next step. Certainly, conversation with presenting all as well as come out with different directions.
I know.
Just aware, we have discussed it. It's no telling the school. School, all on campus. Rapid to class, access, soccer, hockey, have talked about cross flashing lights, slow people down. Staff. But that is what we do, understand. Considerable complaints about this. Also,
So.
thank you. Comments? Just state your name and your question.
James Robert Green, retired at 125 Hockey Drive.
Up. Supervisors, Here, along with my wife and seven other get that mic. You can have it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm here along with my wife and several other residents of Highview Drive to complain about a parking situation and traffic flow problem near the intersection of Highview Drive and Route 340. And it's caused by the patrons at the Family Chiropractic of Lancaster County, and they're located at 1717 Old Philadelphia Pike in East Lancaster Township. This property has a large parking lot to the rear of the building that exits both onto Crestmont Avenue and Highview Drive. The problem I bring to you today deals with both the employees and patrons parking on the Highview Drive side, which has caused near collisions with vehicles turning onto Highview Drive and those turning right from the parking lot onto Highview Drive. I have a series of photographs that I gave each of you to look at. And if you look at the photos of 1 through 3, when you're approaching Highview Drive from Route 340, especially when you're traveling west and turning right, there is a hill and a tree and shrubbery which is obstructing the roadway, and that's on common ground. I believe the property is owned by Clyde Stump and Son. This obscures the driver's view when we're turning right onto Highview Drive. What happens when we turn, there is the lane of vehicles then parked alongside the inside of Highview Drive, which you can see already in picture 2. That was just taken Friday. I took those pictures. Therefore, we're causing the swing wide, and we're almost into the what would be the southbound lane of Highview Drive approaching 340. And what happens then is patrons are coming out of the parking lot of the chiropractor. They look to the left to clear the southbound lane, not seeing us in the on their side of the road, because we have to swing wide because of the parked cars. And then they turn and we're there. And there's been a number of near collisions with that. The problem was addressed several times with the owners of the chiropractor establishments to no avail. My wife recently filed a complaint with the police department, and a petition was signed and presented to the police department. I'm not sure if you have received a copy of that or not. Last year, or about a year and a half ago, there were some no parking signs that were posted, but they were immediately taken down like a day later. And we were told that a traffic study had to be done before those signs could be posted. We have heard nothing about this traffic study ever being conducted, and nothing's been done about the situation. We've also been told over a period of time that there's also been complaints filed by the bus drivers, because the kids have to congregate at the corner there to load and unload from the buses, and that also creates an additional problem when they're exiting the parking, the cars exiting the parking lot. So that's an additional hazard. In pictures 4 and 6, you can see the coming out of the parking lot onto Highview Drive, and you can see the obstruction with the vehicles and the shrubbery that's in place. Numbers 7 through 9 show the available parking spaces that are in the parking lot while these cars are parked on Highview Drive. There's plenty of spaces in the parking lot for them to park. Number 10 shows a driver's view from Route 340 turning on the Crestmont. 11 shows north from the parking lot at Crestmont. And number 12, you can see there's a car parked on Crestmont directly across from the parking lot. Number 13 shows looking from the parking lot towards Route 340 at Crestmont. And as you can see, there's a very clear, less obstructive view on the Crestmont side. Both turning from Route 340 and turning on the Crestmont from the parking lot. The solution to the problem would be no parking signs in both Crestmont and Highview, preventing that. Also, that maybe have the shrubbery removed from the corner at Highview. But then again, also having it set up that the patrons that leave the chiropractor leave by Crestmont, enter by Highview, but exit by Crestmont, and have a sign or something posted on Highview facing the parking lot stating do not allow them to exit onto Highview. Since there's a clear view on Crestmont. So we're looking for relief in this matter, and we bring it to your attention. My understanding is there's something already in the works. It needs to be addressed before somebody does get hurt.
Yes, township staff is working on doing that traffic study. Public Works Director Charlie Thomas was out there, measured both roadways, is putting that together into the paperwork necessary to post no parking signs on both of those roadways from approximately the entrance of the chiropractor to Route 340. So as soon as the paperwork is finalized and the study approved, then those signs can be posted and remain.
What about the shrubbery? How can we deal with that situation?
If it's out into the public right of way, then the public works director can ask that it be cut back. We can't ask that it be removed completely from the property.
And then what about posting, exit onto, or
We'll
the
have to-
exit onto Crestmont?
Yeah, we'll have to talk with the owner of the facility in order to make that happen. It's not a requirement that we have a one-way in and a one-way out. The two entrances were permitted as full ingress egress. So he is permitted to have entrance on both sides at this point. We'd have to talk with him about that.
When can we see the finalization of this traffic study?
I don't have the exact timing for you at this point. Mr. Thomas, we can check in with him tomorrow and we can get back to you if you're happy to give a call into the office.
Sure.
They have 33 parking spaces, I believe, on their site. They did meet the ordinance requirements at the time. But I do not recall off the top of my head. From the complaints we've had and we've received here in the office, they've been associated with the chiropractor use.
Every time I go by, there's always available spaces. I can tell you the red truck is the owner. He always parks there. He doesn't park in line. I imagine he does that to allow space, available space for patrons, but there's always available space in that parking lot. No. Is that Kurt? Kurt's one.
Right, so staff is,
Yeah, I'll call at the end of the week. In the meantime, I'll get a hold of Kurt. I know Kurt. I'll get a hold of him and see if we can do something about that.
That's what we have.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, state your name, please. Thank you.
I live at 121 Highway Drive, and I just wanted to make it known that our other neighbor on the other side of me filed a complaint with the township 2 years ago, early 2019. Nothing was done at that time. We didn't hear anything. Parking continues to be really hazardous. I think there are things Rob was saying, but I do know that we don't really have problems. I followed up on that complaint. I talked to Charlie Thomas, I believe, down here about that. He told me that they would do, and that was in August of 2019, they would do a traffic study. I asked him how long that would take, and he said a couple of weeks. I never heard a word. So I called back last year, and I couldn't get anybody to call me back. So I'm pretty frustrated at this point. So we have a little contingency here of our neighbors because we feel that nothing has been done. Friday, my husband and I came down and talked to, kind of accidentally talked to Manager Hutchinson, and he did tell us some information that was in the works. So hopefully something is done here because it's too much. And I don't know if you have it, but I did give Mr. Hutchinson's copy, but I have just written up to some of the neighbors as well.
I do have that.
Okay, so you know that the school bus is really an issue. The kids are in between the cars. They're on the left side, they're on the right side. So somebody's gonna get hurt, and that's, you don't want. So I just wanted to make that known.
Follow up with Charlie, follow up with Charlie, so sign? We're signing.
He mentioned that. I'm not aware of that.
Okay, all right. Consent agenda, thank you, by the way. Okay, consent agenda, gentlemen, got approval of the minutes of Monday, June 21, regular meeting. I've got approval to pay invoices from all funds. Total is $879,582. Cents. Note, $19,200. Pumps. $8,580. Office.
The time extension,
Consent agenda. Public comments on the consent agenda.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as reported.
Second. By second by Glenn. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5. 5, 6, 7. So, item number 5. 25 acres of service from light. Full fire, full house,
Thirty-one. Congrats, Dylan. Good work.
Volunteers. This a number of years ago, Steve, what did we create this? 15, 18 years ago? Okay, 22 years ago. Our emergency services students, so all four of our fire departments come together, member of the board of supervisors, staff, and line basis. And we have set a budget for the fire document, apparatus for chiefs. So members of our ESC. So John Latcher, where's John? John. ESC. That uh, 2009, 2000. So we're all, was.
Thank you, gentlemen. I can have Officer Tyler Auerbach come forward. Tyler is going to be receiving not only a letter of commendation, but also a commendation pin this evening. And I'm going to read this to you. Tyler, I've been advised by your assistant supervisor, Sergeant Jeffrey Nicholas, of your exceptional performance of duty. On Saturday, the 23rd of January, at approximately 1:55 p.m., we were following up an unrelated call at the Econo Lodge Hotel. You were advised that the subject known to you and known to have an active warrant may be staying in one of the hotel rooms. You contacted the male and female subjects in the rented room and discovered extensive methamphetamine production materials and supplies within the bedroom area. Closer examination of the bathroom revealed numerous alterations to the plumbing. The alarm and smoke detector were both bypassed and create a functioning methamphetamine lab. Knowing the immediate dangers, you had all hotel residents evacuated and contact Lafayette Fire Company and the Pennsylvania State Police clandestine lab. In this case, your proactive policing, knowledge of a wanted criminal, and immediate actions resulted in the arrest of 2 individuals and likely the safety of numerous citizens. You're to be commended.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thanks, Chief. Appreciate that. Before we all break and leave, we had a lot of folks up here, family members that are here, family members that were here to take pictures or watch you. Tyler, do you have somebody to introduce us all to? I was wondering who the little voice was that we were hearing back there. So that's great. Well, welcome. Thank you so much. Appreciate your service, Tyler. Anyone else? 5 members of the fire company. Any family members here that you want to introduce? None. Okay. All right, thank you all very much. Before you leave, I've got one more item I'd like to mention if I can. So Dave Keynes, do you know of the individuals who may have participated, who are in the room here, in the farm accident on Millstream Road, Ethan's neighbor, if I'm correct, last summer? Anyone here that participated in that? Okay. Okay. So I'm not going to get it all correct, so you're going to have to correct me, but a young neighbor of ours was working at a local farm and Strasburg Pike and Millstream Road. And if I'm correct, the tractor rolled over and pinned him underneath the tractor in a body of water in the creek. He was pinned upside down, tractor on major, huge piece of equipment on top of him, and he was not quite underwater, or the water was threatened. And how many of the companies responded? Wonderful. Dave, thank you very much. All the members of the fire companies. You know, we tend to think of the fire company that gets a phone call and they go out and, you know, it's something that is minor and we all kind of drive by it, we don't even think about it. And then that kind of a situation goes on. That young man's life was literally, you know, at stake, and you saved a life. And every day, you know, these volunteers are responding to these kinds of things. You know, we heard before the meeting the branding that we approved for the Lincoln Highway and for the streetscape project that we're working on there. And you know, in order to have that kind of a major economic corridor in our community, we need to provide public services to be able to protect a lot of people on that corridor. And these guys are doing that day in and day out. So thank you all very much. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Dave, for doing that. Appreciate it. Okay. All right. That's it. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. All right, moving on to the rest of our agenda under old business. Item number 9A. We have a presentation on the Walnut Street extension and the Greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway. Tony, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. My name is Tony Seitz with High Associates. I'm also joined by Don Jacobs from Traffic Planning and Design. And we're pleased to be here tonight to give you a brief update on the Walnut Street extension project. And most importantly, answer any questions that you have based on the I'm going to start just in terms of format. I'll give you an overview of the funding and the schedule for the project. And we do have some good news and important highlights to share. So I'll start by covering that. And then I'm going to ask Don Jacobs to briefly discuss the project scope, give you an overview. I know you've seen it many times. There may be other things we can cover there, but just a refresher on the scope and the design status highlights. Two in particular we're going to talk about include the approval of the TSNL plan for the bridge. That is a major milestone. That is, of course, the design of the bridge. And as we petitioned PennDOT, it was approved as a steel supported bridge. So that is good news. It is essentially the design that was presented to the board many months ago, and there is progress to report on that front. The second milestone we'll stop with, we'll present is the environmental document. The environmental document, the approval by PennDOT is another major milestone for the project. It was approved by the department. Part of that approval was a noise screen analysis that was approved by PennDOT. So two things that we'll highlight as we go through the design status of the project. In terms of funding, and I'll move this along, in terms of funding, really positive news to report. And I know the pre-construction funding has been secured in the program for the project. I'm pleased to report that all the construction funding for the road and the bridge is currently on the TIF, with the exception of $3 million that was approved by the Commonwealth Financing Authority that is under separate contract. So all construction funding for road and bridge approved either on the TIF or through contract. The pre-construction for the project is of course funded by HIE, and that continues to move forward. With regards to the trail, unfortunately, we have had notable progress with the Lancaster County Planning Commission, the Planning Department rather, and the MPO, and with PennDOT Central District Office to identify and secure the funding for the trail. And we are hoping to hear very soon from the department, very soon from Lancaster County that funding is secured. We're optimistic that we made progress. I think all the stakeholders, and I would include PennDOT in that discussion, from what they have shared with us, have a desire to build the road, the bridge, and the trail at the same time, one project, one contractor, one phase, not to delay any parts of that project. So I think that's really positive news, and hopefully more on that very shortly. Of course, Tara and Ralph are well aware of those conversations. In terms of schedule, as you know, the project was advanced through an HOP process, a highway occupancy permit process. That was a decision made by all the stakeholders related to advance the project through what I consider an expedited timeframe versus the typical PennDOT project delivery. That process is moving, and we fully are on track to have our permits by February of 2022. That is the scheduled date for those permits. I am hopeful with the progress that we've made that we'll be able to beat that timeline and get those permits by the end of the year. But we are on track for February 2022 HOP delivery. So construction will begin in the late spring of 2022 after the bid and let process that's prescribed by PennDOT. And we are expecting, and this hasn't changed, about an 18-month construction duration. So start in the late spring of 2022, complete by the end of 2023. And to bookmark that, I'll throw out an important date that has come up in our conversation. And it certainly is not on the township, but the Lancaster. It's fortunate to host an event open in 2024, and we have had many conversations with them. It's been stressful, and I have taken note. It is very important to complete this project by that date. May 27th to June 2nd, 24 is the U.S. Women's Open. Yeah. Done. So that's my part of the update. Move this along. The only thing that I would just add to that brief update is none of that progress would have been possible without the cooperation of this board and the support of your staff at every step of the way. That cooperation has been exemplary, and that's the way that we move. I'm going to turn it to Don. Thank you.
Don Jacobs from Traffic Planning. Just briefly, very briefly, wanted to take you through the scope of the improvements we have planned up on the board.
Are you trying to use your pointer, Ben? It may not show up at that screen. It may not show that screen. We could always have Colin put the cursor there or something.
Working from the bottom left, that's the interchange of Route 30 and Walnut Street, which is interchange to and from the city today. The Walnut Street extension is returning. It starts there. Double purple line. Up. Yeah, you're tracking it. Keep tracking it. There, right there is the bridge that is back up. Keep going north, Walnut Street. That would be a roundabout, intersection of Walnut Street and Franklin Boulevard. Walnut Street will be State Road, including the roundabout. Then Franklin Boulevard outside of the PennDOT will be Township. Exactly the 15 mile road. Then
Okay.
Boulevard on the eastern side of Greenfield Road. So if you go down to the right, that existing, that's the eastern leg of Sunset Boulevard. If you go up, that's the intersection of Greenfield Road. Go back to the right.
On Ben Franklin Boulevard, they're calling. Yep. There's a traffic light there at Greenfield and Ben Franklin.
Yeah, right there is Greenfield Road, it's not highway, it's not bad. Now it's stabilized. Traffic signals. The other very important component is the trail, which is the blue line that starts again at the southern end. Just tracks up roughly parallel to Walnut Street Extension. We've got most of the work in southern or western part. So we'll still have throughout to manage the effects of the flood. Any questions on the scope before I we sort of left off on the noise issue in February and this process. Since then, as Tony noted, we got a good reaction to the noise study that was done. And now to prove that, it did have the property most impacted by this project, not surprisingly, that's surrounded, it's near the PA Power House, it's on the other side of Franklin Boulevard. And it's surrounded by proposed Walnut Street to Boulevard to existing. So that was the most impacted property, confirmed through coordination with both high properties and all out of the neighbor across the street to college. There was no appetite for those barriers in that situation, as you would expect. So that's where we're at with the noise. That was part of the parcel of reports and got rolled into the environmental document submission subsequent.
Question on landscape screening, landscaping. You mentioned some sort of a median, landscape median or something, and then on the northwest side of the impact area here, is there any planned landscaping that you are looking at for there, or and it slopes off pretty good, I know, but is there any plan at all there? Anything Tony done?
We are working on a landscaping. Roundabout. Buffering for stormwater. And it will be coordinated with the township. So we have to move systematically through this design and the landscape. So more to come.
Good. Scope. I don't have any more questions on the scope of it. What Glenn is suggesting is, could the township work to do something with that southern end of the trail. I forget the name of the-
Oak Grove.
Oak Grove Trail, Oak Grove Road. And then people would sign and people would come out on a bike path or something, and then maybe go all the way up, back up Pitney to the trailhead.
So the intent is that through the Lancaster Active Transportation Plan, once you get to Oak Grove Road, you would continue south down Pitney and then back over to the waterworks and back into the city onto the continuing on the greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway.
Yeah, so as opposed to maybe a small circular trail, Glenn, which I understand, this is intended to almost be an eastern trailhead that eventually you are able to go back onto Pitney and then, get into the city through their trail system. So it's almost an 8-mile trail system out towards the health campus.
Right, and then the long range plan from the active transportation plan is the connection, which is just off the screen at the bottom, which would connect along Walnut Street directly into the city for bike commuter transportation.
Answer your question. Good. Ethan?
I think it's great on the scope. I know there was a note in here as far as that pedestrian crossing of that trail. How are we letting traffic know that there's a crossing coming up? It looks like the crossing's on the township side. Is there any signage coming up on the state road side saying, hey, there's a pedestrian crossing there?
There's a lot of scrutiny on. So, where so you're crossing one leg of all the cyclists have been confirmed, all the appropriate signage. There has been discussion of flashing system. The designer design that it and start with it feel necessary, but it's an augmentation. It's certainly in the realm of township forward. We'll look into that. We discussed it with PennDOT. Townships.
Okay.
Yeah, I think having a flasher would be beneficial. I mean, this goes back to our discussion about Sydney. If you design a long, straight road that's narrow, people will go fast. When you design it where there's curves, roundabouts, median strips, flashing lights, and pedestrian crossings at the beginning, then you can actually slow traffic down to the speed limit. But once you build a racetrack, it's hard to get people to slow down. So anything we can do before it's built to make sure that it's as safe as possible. Once it's built, it's not a lot we're going to do at that point.
Agree. I think, staff's concerns there, you've mentioned, you've had some conversations as well, trying to do a flashing signal there, something that would provide for an increased level of safety.
Right.
As far as scope goes, I don't have any further questions. I did tell you, just, do we have any images of the bridge here? Or I was excited to hear you say, Tony, that they signed off on. Yeah, because it was a great design, and we were all interested in hoping that would go through, and they signed off on it. So,
and really we're advancing again systematically, type, size, and location approval, foundation approval, designing the superstructure now, final structure plan. There'll be a round of coordination regarding pattern and color for the form liners that get attached to the visible portions of the bridge.
yeah.
Probably coordination regarding fencing.
Yeah.
We're trying to be sure.
You went down, Colin. There you go.
Sort of our guiding principle at this point
And then,
Understand. I have one other question. The noise study, do we have a copy of that at the township that we could? Okay. I know we had talked at the last public meeting to put that study online so people could see it. So that'd be something to take note and put on our website link to. So because there were several neighbors who wanted to see a copy of that when it was released.
And that is fantastic. You got that design. You got the approval of the noise screening. All the funding's approved. And we're going to be sitting here in 2024 going to the Women's Open and we're going to look out and see that thing done. That's all right. Fantastic. Congratulations. Anything else, guys? Staff? Obviously, we want the staff to work with our township engineer on that signaling section.
With the township traffic
Yeah.
engineer.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Tony, anything else? Absolutely. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate the entire high organization, everyone's efforts. You mentioned the degree to which our staff and the local body were cooperating on this. Obviously, you were here and there were 60 to 70 people in the room for the first meeting. Obviously, public is concerned when they see something of this nature, but the concern has certainly not continued. I have not been getting phone calls. I don't know if you guys have mentioned it. And I suppose 5 years from now, as people are riding on that trail and they're seeing the economic development that's coming and the college is expanding, it's going to become an asset to this community that you just can't argue with. And it is on behalf of private sector organizations like the High Company that continue to make significant investments in this community and employ hundreds, if not thousands of people and provide tax dollars to the community, provide these kind of resources. It's just a win-win for everybody. So thank you, Tony. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
John, if you wish for the board to take action on that, you should ask for public comment, take action on the township.
Okay.
traffic engineer.
Okay. All right. So Tara's just suggesting that, we want the township engineer, the traffic engineer to be looking at that signal intersection. So if we can, if there's any public comment on what was just presented or public comment on what we just, what we're going to potentially put on the board. Nothing coming through, Colin, nothing at all. Okay. Public comment. Okay. Probably need a motion to authorize traffic engineer to move forward in looking at that signalized intersection.
I make a motion, we authorize staff to have our engineer design and obtain necessary PennDOT permits for flashing warning signs as proposed.
Okay, motion's been made by Ethan, seconded by Glenn. Comments, questions? Hearing none. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you all very much. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Okay, item number 9B. We have a need for some yard waste management options. We have had a prior relationship, as did, I guess, all surrounding municipalities with Manheim Township, and that has no longer continued to be the case. So we're looking for options for our residents to manage some of their yard waste. And so we've got a presentation. I guess there's a technical assistance report. So Tara.
Brent is here with us to go through the technical assistance report that DEP funded. Brent, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Perfect. We got
We are
you,
good.
Brent. Yep. It's all yours.
Okay, excellent. Good evening, everybody. I'm so sorry I'm not joining you in person this evening. I will keep my presentation fairly brief, but certainly want to have a dialogue and answer anyone's questions. My name is Brent Dieleman. I work for an environmental consulting company called SCS Engineers. We specialize in solid waste recycling consulting services. We are, as Tara mentioned, we are the contractor to DEP that provides program assistance and training through their recycling technical assistance program. The township submitted an application to the program earlier this year. And over the last few months, several months, we've been completing the study. So I'm going to present on the results here as well. I think most of you all know that the township is a state-required mandated recycling community. It's Act 101, the Pennsylvania Municipal Waste Planning, Recycling, and Waste Reduction Act of 1988. In addition to the requirement that the township provides recycling services, it also requires the collection and diversion of yard waste. The law allows basically two main types of programs to be implemented. The first is a monthly curbside recycling program, whereby the township designates a day a month where yard waste will be collected curbside from residents. Recognizing that program isn't going to always fit every community, there is a secondary option, which is to allow communities to partner with another jurisdiction, partner with a private company, or any entity that provides a composting site. And they allow communities to establish an agreement and allow those allows your residents to bring material to that site on a monthly basis. In addition, the requirement is also that there is at least 2 times a year curbside collection service. Most of you know, I think the township has had that type of a service for a number of years. Residents have been able to use Manheim Township's compost park for many years. And then haulers operating in the township provide a 2 times a year curbside collection requirement. With Manheim Township's kind of closing off their facility to non-residents, the township needed another option to look at. And that's what we did for the township. We looked at a number of different types of programs. We looked at the curbside collection program, whereby the township, by licensing waste haulers, just has a requirement. It would require the amendment of your recycling ordinance, but it would basically require haulers to provide monthly collection of yard waste, curbside collection of yard waste. So a pretty significant increased level of service for a lot of folks and a lot of haulers. The other option that we looked at was actually identifying facilities near the township that have composting facilities that would potentially allow residents to use that facility to drop off, just like Manheim Township has done for a number of years. And then the third option we briefly looked at, but staff decided that this is a last resort, and so we didn't investigate it in any significant detail, is to establish your own yard waste composting facility in the township. And I understand there's few options for that, so we did not pursue that option. So in discussions with staff, we identified 6 facilities, composting facilities nearby that have the potential to allow East Lampeter Township residents to use their composting operation. It's a mix of public facilities, it's private facilities, and what we did is we did interviews with staff at each of these facilities to find out just how receptive they are to the idea of entering into an agreement with the township that will establish a relationship and agreement whereby residents can use their compost facility. And I'm going to kind of walk through each one. We developed kind of a priority list of the most desired down to kind of the least desired option. And I will say, in coming up with our priority list, we prioritized a couple of different things. We prioritize compliance with Act 101. We want to make sure the township stays in compliance with the state requirement. We also prioritize resident convenience. So facilities that were further away from the township, we put less emphasis on and instead focused on the nearby communities. And then to a third extent, we looked at cost. We were able to obtain cost data from several facilities, and the details of which are in the report that you have. It's, nobody, just in our phone interviews, no one was willing to commit to a cost. So, that is certainly fluid and will be the result of whatever negotiations can be made between the township and whoever they decide to partner with. So the partners, so we interviewed these 6 staff at these 6 facilities, and we came up with a priority list of 4 options, if you will. And I'm going to just briefly run through those. The first option that we, based on our experience, based on conversations with staff, based on even discussions with Ralph there at the township, was to prioritize entering into an agreement with West Earl Township. We had a lengthy conversation with the township manager over there. My understanding is actually several residents from the township currently go over to West Earl to use their compost facility. They are set up for non-residents to use the facility. They're located very, very close to the township. And actually the West Earl was even preliminarily thinking, before we had our phone conversation, of wanting to talk to neighboring communities and find a way to partner to kind of establish more formal arrangements and agreements to just help them better manage their facility and the people using their facility. So we felt, certainly I felt in my conversations, that West Earl, a partnership with West Earl, would probably best serve the residents of the township. The second option we did, with Ralph's suggestion, we did contact Manheim Township just to discuss the opportunities with them, or if it was completely closed off, or just what their thoughts were. Staff there provided some interesting information on why they decided to close down their facility and only allow residents to use it. It had to do with the amount of grass clippings that Manheim Township was having. Grass clippings complicate composting operations. They just require modified composting operations. And because of the significant quantities of grass clippings that Manheim Township was receiving, they were not able to, earlier and earlier each year, they'd have to cut off the receipt of grass clippings. That made some of their residents unhappy. And in an effort to better serve their residents and allow residents to bring grass clippings year round or for the whole growing season, they felt the need to limit it to just residents. In discussions with the facility manager over there, they actually deferred me to their board of supervisors to making a decision on entering into an agreement with your township or any other partners. I do think that if the township is interested in continuing working with Manheim Township, a viable option is to suggest to them that you would discourage your residents from bringing grass clippings to their facility, and they have a manned facility, and their staff, if an East Lampeter Township resident were to come on site, they would be turned away if they're bringing grass clippings. So that was option number 2. And again, they're very convenient. Your residents are very familiar with their program. We thought that was the most, that was kind of the second best option for you. The third option was a private facility, Martin Mulch Products. located a little further outside of the township. I think I've noted that about 10, 11 miles outside. So it would require a little bit more transportation for residents to use, which certainly certainly reduces the convenience. The facility there is open to talking with you about making an arrangement to have residents drop off yard waste. The facility accepts all of kind of what Act 101 defines as yard waste, or what they call leaf waste. Martin Mulch Products actually accepts. So that is an important criteria. And I'm going to go back real quick to my comment about Manheim Township and excluding grass clippings. You would still be able to maintain compliance with Act 101 because yard waste, according to Act 101, excludes grass clippings. So you could exclude grass clippings from diversion, or don't include grass clippings in your definition of yard waste. And if you don't have a program that diverts that, because, for example, you enter into an agreement with Manheim Township and they don't accept grass clippings, you would still be in compliance with Act 101. So that is the third option that we think makes the most sense for the township. The other three facilities that we interviewed, they're all listed in the report. There were concerns about just convenience, the distance to the township. There was also some concerns about just compliance with Act 101. At least one of the facilities would only accept, I think it was woody material. And you need a facility that accepts leaves, garden residues, non-woody material as well. And then also just usage of the material. The state requires that this material goes to a facility where it's actually composted and it's diverted. It's not just landfilled or used at a landfill. So there was concerns that maybe one of the other facilities was using that in a landfill. So we felt that was not a good option to pursue at this time without further research. The fourth option is going back to the whole curbside collection thing. One of the easiest things, kind of more hands-off approaches is to just amend the recycling ordinance and require haulers to collect yard waste from residents, from their customers on a monthly basis, as opposed to 2 times a year as the ordinance currently states. That, I think, from a township's perspective, may be easier to do. They don't have to negotiate rates, agreements with other entities to use compost facilities. But certainly there is an additional element of administrative and reporting, because you do need to track those haulers and confirm that they are providing that monthly yard waste service to residents. Your residents may not be the happiest, because chances are their rates are going to be going up, because now they're going to be serviced more times a year than they currently are. So that's kind of the hierarchy, kind of pursuing an arrangement with West Erdel Township. Manheim Township was kind of priority number 2. Priority number 3 was the private facility, Martin Mulch Products. And then the fourth feasible option would be to require your haulers to provide the monthly curbside collection. So that's a very brief nutshell of the report and the results, and I'm happy to answer any questions or clarify anything that maybe wasn't the clearest when I presented it the first time around here.
Good. Thank you, Brent. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Members of the board. Brent, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
We're getting some feedback. Let me try that. Did you hear that, Brent?
I can hear you crystal clear.
Okay, so if Supervisor Everly was asking if we were to require contract haulers to pick it up at curbside, where would they dispose of it?
Yeah, so the haulers would have the flexibility to bring that material to the composting facility of their choice. The composting facility does have to be permitted by the state as a certified compost facility. And I would recommend that in your licensing program that you have, you would require those haulers to tell you which facility that they will be bringing the yard waste to.
Okay, staff, Tara, any response?
So after we received the technical report, we had a meeting with West Earl Township, New Holland Borough. We met with and Upper Lake Hot Township. We met with the township manager and the public works director at West Earl Township. They are happy to put an agreement together for us to take a look at for our residents. We currently have 80 residents that are using the West Earl facility right now. And one benefit of using the West Earl facility is that they not only want you to bring in the yard waste, they want you to take out the bark mulch and the compost that's available there. So right now it's $20 per trip to the yard. So you have to wait to fill up your vehicle in order to go over there. We're working to have a lower amount paid by what East Lampeter Township has.
They take it over, but they also then get to bring
Right.
mulch out of there.
Bark mulch, now it's not colored, it's not fancy, it's bark mulch.
Good.
Or compost. If
That's
it's
great.
available.
There's not really any action required. We're just gathering information, but we want to give staff any kind of direction. Anybody?
I mean, I think pursuing West Earl and then continuing to pursue Manheim Township, I would say if we can give our residents more than one option, that'd be great.
One, agree. Yeah, I would say the same thing. Let's keep going down the path of option one, which is West Earl, and then see what we can get from Manheim Township. Brent, anything else?
I don't believe so. I believe West Earl does not have any limits on the amount you can bring for that $20 one trip fee. So it could be a whole load of material. It's just a flat fee. So that can benefit a lot of folks. So.
Okay, great. Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Brent. Appreciate your work on that.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Yep, bye now.
Okay, item number 10, new business. 10A, a request for deferral of stormwater management plan number 21-13, 2952 Harvest Road. This is in Laycock Township, and as I understand it, this is almost all in Laycock Township.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
Correct. So yeah, we did receive a stormwater management plan for 2952 Harvest Drive. You are correct. The majority of the property is located in Laycock Township. The portion that is located in East Lampeter is just open farmland. So.
Okay.
Make a motion to defer to Laycock Township.
Yeah, agreed.
Real quick, they are proposing a new house and barn, driveway, as well as septic system. This portion here, which is vacant farmland. So,
There's a triangle.
yeah,
There's a triangle.
and all the stormwater is contained on the Laycock Township side, as well as the improvements.
Okay. Yep, good. Thank you. Appreciate it. Then motions are made by Ethan, seconded by Glenn. Questions? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. 10B, acknowledge submission and authorize distribution to planning partners in reference to the zoning ordinance text amendment for village commercial zone. Tara, you want to give a little bit of presentation on this?
Right, so are you here to talk about the village commercial?
Yes.
The village commercial was brought to us as a informal item for a property along Levin Road. At this point, the board would acknowledge acceptance of the amendment, and we will pass that on to our planning partners, which are neighboring municipalities, the school district, and Lancaster County Planning Department.
And that's just for their review, obviously they're going to have to sign off on it.
We'll have review letters if they choose to provide one. Lancaster County Planning Department will provide one. And then the board will also be able to set a hearing date.
Okay, all right, good.
Anything further? Okay.
So I guess we need to acknowledge this. I need board action to actually acknowledge the submission and authorize the distribution of this.
Second.
Moved by Glenn, seconded by Ethan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. 10C, a discussion in reference to the possible zoning ordinance text amendment for the C3 regional commercial zone. Once again, this is just a discussion. So we have anyone here who is interested in making a presentation to us?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Been a long night already.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark, for being present for all of us.
My name's Mark Stanley. With me tonight is Nelson Schutzer from Venture, also Frank Smith from Associates. Here, as just had what we have found. After discussion, get some property. Arriving with this discussion. 2330 east. SWS Venture, the owner of that property, about 3.5 acres. Currently currently site. Overall picture.
Yep, that's good. Thank you. Appreciate that. There you go.
Initially, general commercial. 3 acres, 11%. Site. Out, there's 448 acres, 8% of the commercial. purpose. Purpose is for larger scale. Hospitality. Circle. We also looked at and made a presentation similar to what was here tonight. And the planning commission at the end of the informal discussion will open to expanding the use of we're looking to expand and have greater flexibility, have the industry market drive it. The number of tax parcels. Tax parcels. We're still separate tax parcels. Those are tax parcels. From looking at this site, mentioned that front, service repair, possibly actually making all of some of the seats planning commission that just corporation probably certainly based on the purpose. Where we ended up looking to see additional some smaller sites. So encourage One.
I'm always up for seeing
We're,
plans.
we're open to ideas. We're open to ideas.
So look at what we mark mentioned front, we're looking at the car wash. And rear for the auto where place for That's so the site right now. Has a 57%. By redevelopment, it's brought down to right around 5%. Benefit by green space and bumping that to 19%. Green space to 35%. Another benefit of redevelopment is obviously create site subject to available. The other piece of this is a large so right now there is a sidewalk across the front of this property. Small grass. Part of this project sidewalk. Recently, grass was applied to it. Install curb streets.
Mhm.
We would also plant street 30. Accessibility. Business is proposed left and follow. Sidewalk. Back. So with this project, about 20% of opportunity.
Nothing specific, no. Ethan, Glenn? No. I have a question. Yeah, I have a question. I have a question, Mark's name. Are you guys the owners of the property? You're equitable owners of it? Okay. 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 So who came forward with the plan for sheets or Redner's or whatever it was? I forget.
Well, there was Lidl, Lidl.
Legal, but there was something else before legal got here too. There was a Sheets, I thought, and then legal came through. And site distance was one of the issues and I continue to have because everything going east is a fall off. No.
This is at a traffic light.
at a traffic light, there was an issue with access or no, wasn't?
The Lidl plan, if I remember correctly, was the setbacks on the east side. Their proposed plan was like a foot over.
Okay.
Setback.
Okay,
Right, they needed multiple variants.
okay. All right.
Fit that amount. And they were also looking for wide parking spaces. That was going to be Costco
Yeah.
style.
Okay. I mean, obviously, any creative idea, I think Supervisor Demi said, we're open to ideas, bring them forward, let's look at them. Mark, you're thus far, Mark, your argument has been, hey, economic conditions over the past 18 to 24 months or so, definitely have impacted the vision that the owners have for this kind of a parcel with this size and this location. Our reason, Tara, that the county's comp plan, probably the prior one was this specific area, C3 probably is, destination travelers, keeping consistency of use and consistency of look and consistency of flow, traffic flow, for people that are coming to do something in a destination area.
And that was what was discussed at the workshops for the 2016 zoning ordinance. Excuse me, that the C1 would be day-to-day commercial, that the C2 would be for the traveling public, that the C3 would be the destination area. And we have seen redevelopment in the destination area on even smaller parcels than this. We saw the redevelopment of the Star Buffet site. We're seeing the redevelopment of the Pizza Hut site. So we have seen those redevelopments. We saw the redevelopment of the Knights Inn. Now that was a conglomeration of 4 parcels, but very small parcels into the Abbot. So we've started to see the redevelopment happen even on smaller parcels, and the table that Mark handed out indicates that there's, quite a bit of acreage, and I'm going to say the same thing that I told the Planning Commission. It has that amount of acreage because we have the destinations there. We have Rockvale at 68 acres. We have Tanger at almost 50 acres. We have Dutch Wonderland at over 50 acres. We have the Host, which is 116 acres. Now, half of that is in the ag zone with the golf course. So those destinations take up more acreage. Granted, there are those parcels that have the smaller acreage along the corridor as well. There's nothing to say that those can't be conglomerated into a larger parcel.
I'll put in a couple comments here. And sort of the way I view this, especially in light of our streetscape plan and what we just went through with our branding. So if you look at Lincoln Highway Lancaster, that use the appropriate terminology now, that did not become a destination place because of our zoning. Our zoning only recently tried to match what the market had already created over the last 50 years or more. So we recognize that, hey, the market, which matches the traffic flow, over 80% of the traffic coming into Lancaster goes right down Route 30, right at 896. So the traffic's coming in, it's the natural destination spot. The destination places were built right along that spot, not because we zoned it for that. Our zoning now is saying, we like it, how do we keep it and improve on it? But it's one of the market created the destination, and the market's going to keep it that way. Anything we can do to enhance it with wayfaring signage has been successful, which is why we need branding and wayfaring signage at this point. The second piece is, I think our understanding of what destination commercial uses is very limited in our current zoning ordinance. When you go the places I mentioned, you go to Hershey, you go to Rehoboth Beach, you go down to King of Prussia, you can find all of these little uses. There's car washes, there's gas stations. We're a car-based society. We're adding a bunch of multimodal connections, but fundamentally, we got a whole bunch of cars driving down the road, which makes it a great place to have fast food restaurants like they're going in. The new Popeyes is going in. That many eyeballs makes it attractive for those places, and tourists still need to wash cars and fill up their cars with gas. And I welcome the discussion. Thanks for coming forward. We did not actually talk at all prior to this. I brought this up a year ago, advocating for very similar things, and that would be nice to see if we got any update. Staff has done any work on that in the last 12 to 14 months about expanding those commercial uses, because these are all the infill things. If you look at the destination place so there's two pieces of that. Is destination places require amenities that aren't what some folks think, because they don't use those when they travel. So you need to expand out. There's a lot of people who go to grocery stores when they travel, they buy food and they take it back to their room. We have a hotel right across the street that was pitched. We had to make changes because there had cooking facilities in most of those rooms. They have grills outside where you can go buy a steak. The problem is you can't buy a steak anywhere nearby. Unless you go, behind you in the farmland and buy it from an unlicensed USGA person. But we won't talk about that. But so you look at those things, the way the modern public travels, they use more of those amenities. So that's the one piece. The second is, I think we have to take the workers at all of those destination locations into account. Those folks also need daycare services. We just assume that it's great to have a daycare service at Greenfield because the folks at Greenfield need childcare. We have way more workers right there on Route 30 on Lincoln Highway who also need childcare just as much as those folks do, but they're in a different demographic class, so they often get overlooked. So looking at what are the services that regular working folks who make everything in our economic activity possible, what do they need to have a healthy, productive life? Let's make sure those uses are allowed. So I think if we look at that destination and say, how do we still maintain this as a destination, but look at the places where we can add in and say, you know what, there's plenty of places we can add these in. And when you look at other successful destination places, there's car washes, there's convenience stores, there's dry cleaners, there's daycares, and there's apartment buildings. Those are all things that are in successful destination places like King of Prussia, Hershey, down in Kennett Square, Rehoboth Beach. Those are things that are there. I think it's also, I think in my proposal, I had this use at least as a special exception where we can start to put in potentially design standards or other things that keep this as an attractive location, which matches into our streetscape plan. There's certain car washes that I've driven by that I'd love to see there, and then there's other auto repair places and car washes that I would hate to see there. So how it looks matters. So having some extra regulations to safeguard against that makes sense. But I'm 100% in favor of expanding our uses in the C3 area. There's a lot of parcels like this that could have been redeveloped and could be redeveloped in the future. And if this doesn't work out, if people are like, I don't want to get my car washed, then guess what? Someone else is going to go and put a different use in there. Right now, it's sitting vacant because no one wants to buy it for any of our approved uses.
So if you recall, the board had indicated that they would look at the C3 after the branding and wayfinding project, which will be completed at the end of this year. In addition, the commercial redevelopment overlay came in and did exactly what you're talking about, looking at all those ancillary uses that support a larger development, and that is specifically for the Rockville property.
I proposed mine after that. And I don't recall postponing any of that action based off of the brand.
I think we did have a conversation about we need to focus on the branding study and what we were trying to do with the gateway initiative, because we did talk a great deal about Rockville, and there are things that we need to allow. We're going to have to get creative in rezoning for that, or at least the way in which we allow for the uses there. But let me go back to your points, Ethan. I would concur. I don't disagree with your points. When I served on the County Planning Commission in the late 90s, there was a discussion at that time of the Lincoln Highway corridor was of such a unique nature for our larger county-wide visitor economy that there needed to be things that were done, zoning and planning, to maintain parcels that could be developed for visitor and tourist for the tourist economy. And those parcels need to be preserved to allow for that. And I think, while I am a supporter of comprehensive land use planning, I think there is a point at which we try to plan it and control it so much that we miss opportunities. We miss market opportunities. We miss the opportunity to bring in something that the visitors here are telling us that they want and they need. And yet we've decided that the plan, it doesn't fit into the plan. And so we need to maintain our ground and not allow for those uses to come in. I was up, telling the board earlier, I drove Lincoln Highway on Saturday from Strasburg Pike to 896 and then back. And I mean, it was packed. There was a tremendous amount of people in town. And it was fantastic to see. The Wyndham former host was overflowing with people. I mean, there were people coming and going from all of the uses. And I couldn't help but pick out several parcels that I thought, wow, those are such eyesores. They're just sitting. They're just not going anywhere, and everything else is being redeveloped, and it's really contributing to an uh, attractive community. The Sonic, I don't know, I blinked and it's opened again. They repainted it and they rebranded it. They were closing it. Now it's open. They had hiring and now it's painted. And then Saturday I drove by and it was packed. Every spot was packed. I thought, wow, somebody's refiguring what the market, has to offer for a drive-in hamburger place like that. And while I'm not making a judgment on this specific plant, Mark, but I am receptive to the argument that says, hey, we've got a parcel here, and we're not going to show you a hotel, a theater, bowling alley, another restaurant, a bakery. We're not showing you that. We're showing you a different concept, a different idea. And I'm assuming you're running. Glenn. Okay. I'm sorry, no comment.
It's informal. And that's why we're here.
Mhm. It's not preserved historically. Are you talking about after it was the Italian Villa and it became? Yeah, no, but it was the Italian Villa for years. It was the Italian Villa for years, the restaurant. Huh. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I mean, if you drive back and look at it, yes, it 50 years ago definitely would have been, yeah, 50 years ago definitely would have probably had, a historic significance to it. And people were certainly looking at that, I'm sure, as this was being developed. Since then, Glenn, I've never heard anything about it. I don't know. Okay. Yeah. I guess I know staff. I know your concerns, Sarah, and I hear them. and Ethan and I are both making a case here that is probably runs counter to some predominant planning philosophies and principles, especially by way of the County Planning Commission's vision for the Lincoln Highway. But I'm also of the mind that, just on either side of this parcel, you get to some, to some redevelopment that's going on that hasn't necessarily gone in the direction of, the C3 destination visitor. I understand a firecracker store is at one point you couldn't buy it if you're in Pennsylvania or something. I think maybe you can buy them now there, but the Goodwill store, which is a very large parcel. The Calico Creek, furniture and gift store, just over the hill from this. There are lots of locals who shop in those areas. There are lots of locals who patronize those facilities. Ethan, back to your point, you drive to Orlando, and yeah, there's tremendous branding. There's tremendous Wayfair signage there, but I was down there with your business a couple of years ago, and there's gas stations right outside, the Gaylord Palms. There are functional services that people need who are coming into an area to do something, and I think we should be open, to perhaps getting creative with some of this. So anyway, we're I guess you want some direction of how far you should. Yeah, I am open and willing to see, a plan for this parcel going forward. But I am only one of 5, and staff is certainly going to have, their case they're going to make for staying exactly what we're talking about here, or at least holding off until we get the branding and gateway signage, Wayfair signage plan done and stamped. I don't personally see that those two are running counter to each other. Wayfair signing and branding is, I'm certainly not going to reconsider everything we just were looking at and approving before the meeting began for signage because someone comes in with a unique redev project. So, anything else? I'm open to. I mean, I would say this member of the board is. You're open to that too. Open to that too. I mean, I'd love to see you come in here with a plan that looks like decades on Queen Street, downtown Lancaster, and it's got a couple of bars, and it's got a restaurant, and it's got a bowling alley, and suddenly we're looking at a slam dunk in the C3, But I'm also.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Okay. Yes, you are, Mark. So. Yeah. No, they took the old armory, the National Guard Armory on Queen Street, and it's sat there for a long time, and it's a pretty cool happening spot. In fact, you can't get a bowling alley because it's too many people. You can't sign up. There's only 3 lanes, and before you know it, it's overwhelming. So, anyway, I would be open to you coming in and showing a plan that would fit directly within the C3. I am open to you continuing to make your case that, here are some things that we'd like to, in a judicious manner, I guess, consider adding to the C3. I'd be open to that. Okay. Anything else? I'm open to that. I'm open to bringing us some ideas for what could be put into the C3, but certainly not taking what's in the C2 and just eliminating C3 and say, now we just have C1 and C2. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you guys very much. I'll make a recommend. Mark.
Unfortunately,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
we cannot regulate fireworks per state law. You should talk to Keith Reiner, who voted to expand that. Senator Martin voted no on expanding fireworks sales in 2017. Keith Reiner voted yes. So
To expand it,
yes,
and Senator Martin voted no.
yes. So everyone can now buy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
It used to
very
be you
much.
could only buy a.
When we met with Westland, or excuse me, West Earl Township, and they informed us that their compost yard is 6 acres in size.
And stormwater.
That's,
Yeah, we don't have the parcel.
ours is total, as we have the buildings and the stormwater retention base. We're not, believe me, I don't think any of us have ever expressed interest in not being. We've been fighting like crazy, trying to get access for citizens back to Manhattan Township if we can.
Yeah, theirs is a 5-acre parcel.
Well, once again, cost and space. But you know what, Manhattan Township has that? Because they used your state tax dollars to help build that.
A lot of state tax dollars.
You bet. Good to see you. Take care. Okay, item number, sorry, I'm moving too much stuff here. I moved my agenda now.
10D.
10D. 10D, resolution, sewer planning module for Covered Bridge Marketplace, change in uses.
Right, so this came to us originally because a tenant wishes to put a faux restaurant into Covered Bridge Marketplace. In order to do that, we looked at all of the EDUs available to Covered Bridge Marketplace, found that they were short. And then in addition, there's a grease trap agreement that's needed so that the site that can utilize the grease trap is not directly in front of the grease trap, so that if something else would go into the site in front of the grease trap in the future that would need one, this one will have to put one in. So in order to do that, the owner actually went through and determined how many EDUs he thought he should have. We determined how many he thought he should have, and we came up with within one.
Oh.
So
Okay.
this is not associated with the land development plan, but the process is basically the same.
Thing. Okay.
Motion to approve the sewer planning module for Covered Bridge Marketplace as presented.
Okay, the motion is made by Ethan, seconded by Glenn. Public comment? No public comment? None, hearing none. Thanks, Colin. Okay, those in favor? Aye. Okay, motion passes. Item number 11, bids for roof replacement to the admin and police building. Wow.
Right.
Gonna get it done.
This has been a long process coming. So you can see we received 10 bids, I believe it was.
Yeah. Yep.
with the lowest being $137,618.78.
Low bid being how much?
$137,478.
Oh, yeah, okay. I was reading it there, didn't think that's what you said. And that is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right?
You are correct. I apologize.
137, 478.
478, sorry.
All right, that's all right. I think
It's
you
a
did say,
little
I think
small.
you did say a different number. And that's Liberty Restoration and Construction.
That is.
Okay. Your motion?
Second.
Okay, motion been made by Glenn, seconded by Ethan. Questions from the public? Hearing none. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. 11B, appointment of our building code official. Colin Cecils. Yeah, he's hiding behind a screen over there. Yeah, exactly.
Where'd he go to school?
Who is this guy? Yeah. Director of Planning and Zoning Officer. The official title, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, you get all the required certifications. You can make it happen, right? Okay, fire chiefs know about this?
The fire chiefs were told that at the Emergency Services Committee meeting.
Sure. I was
You were there.
there a motion?
So moved.
Motion been made by Ethan, seconded by Glenn. Those in favor? Aye. Okay, congratulations, Tom. I think we mean 12, manager's report. There's 8 on mine. Manager's report. MS4 and sunshine law.
So MS4 report, we are actively working on the annual report, which the annual reporting period ended June 30th of this year. And so the annual report is actually due by September 15th. And so we are working on moving that to the finish line. In addition, we continue to work on PRP projects. The project at Greenfield and Eastland has moved through survey and is now moving into concept design. We have received the report from F&M on the Gibbons Dam and the other dams that are below that, and whether or not the removal of the sediment there will result in significant pound per pound sediment reduction.
So you're just studying, you're going through looking at those right now.
Yeah, we're actually going to ask for what's called a Tuesday morning meeting through the Lancaster County Water Partners.
Okay.
And we are going to have the discussion with DEP about whether or not they will allow that pound for pound calculation. And that will generally be in our next permit cycle, so 2023 to 2028.
So pound for pound means if we would remove that sediment,
Right,
we'd get some pretty substantial credits,
that's correct.
enough to pay for the removal of those dams. You have to get grants.
We would have to get a grant.
Okay. And I'm assuming that sediment has to be removed.
I think there's multiple ways that can happen. It could be a small breach and then sediment removal or laid back. And so something we need to talk to with DEP is where exactly can this sediment go?
Okay.
We have minimal outfall inspections left to conduct in this permit cycle, which is fantastic.
Good.
And we were part of actually our entire building, zoning, stormwater staff went to the Clean Water Partners meeting, which we hosted at Community Park.
Oh.
And then there was a tour afterward.
Good. Good. Stuff for run.
Stuffer Run continues to be of significant importance to us. And we are hoping to work with not only High, but the Country Club,
Yes.
LFT,
Uh-huh.
and agricultural partners in that area for PRP projects
Potential of being done by 2024.
with potential of some of them being done by 2024.
I assume they want to get that looking really nice for the golf matches.
I'm sure they do.
Sunshine Law Amendment?
Right, so we were provided a memo from Morgan, Hallgren, Crosswell, and Kane, and we believe that's because Bob Cisco serves as our zoning hearing board solicitor. And that goes over the changes that will take effect at the end of August of this year. And so with your September meeting, that we're doing just about everything that's in this change already, with the only exception being if there is an addition to the agenda, as there was tonight, you would actually have to take a motion on putting that additional item on the agenda. That's the only difference.
Are we posting our agenda 24 hours? Because I couldn't find those. I just looked.
On the events page,
Yes.
with my understanding that we were posting it 24 hours in advance.
Occasionally things are posted on the website. In my experience, it's not a regular occurrence.
Okay,
There's a lot of things that we could be posting on the website that I think we should be on a regular basis as part of our, whoever's emailing us the information, can go ahead and
Just
publish it.
put the
at that point.
PDFs right on there.
And link to it from both the events page as well as having some sort of place or a link to a place where you can access it. What I would recommend as well, we've been doing it. Roberts states you have to approve the agenda at the beginning of the meeting, which we don't do. We could just add that to the consent agenda, which would be to do that, and then any additions we can add at that point. But the board typically has not in my experience ever approved it.
No, not since I've been on.
Which is a requirement of how we should be doing it, but
Can you check that website?
I will do that.
But, back to Ethan's point, I think we need to make this firmly known to Ralph that everything does need to be up on the website. It's
especially, there's
beyond that time. We need to have stuff on the website.
I think anything that we put in the newspaper should be on the website, sort of as a minimum. We're advertising it to the public. We just give it to them for free too, especially when we complain about, the cost of advertising, but we don't actually put that information on our website. Like you say, we
Go around it and use that.
I will
Okay.
definitely check into.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. That's it, Tara? Time to report?
That's all I have.
That's it. Item 13, motion for adjournment. Would they have to move that, Glenn? Because there's not going to be any entrance.
We'll have to look into that.
and if we could stretch it and add more flashing lights.
Take over the other bridge. No, that's good, Glenn. I'm glad you brought it up. I never thought about it because it is the property. So it's going to go to the property.
But the property now literally touches that. And if we can get able to put a little footpath there, then it's an access point. Then we can get another 300 feet.
Any way we can work on that.
Second.
Sorry. Motion for adjournment made by Glenn, seconded by Ethan. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.